Part two of the speaking test is commonly called the long turn by examiners. You'll receive a topic that the examiner chooses at random, and a good source to find the current topics that are being used is IELTSbro.com. For the timing of the part two in the speaking test, it's 3 to 4 minutes. Usually it'll go closer to 4 minutes. The candidate has 1 minute of preparation time and 2 minutes for the candidate to speak, and then there's a rounding off question at the end, and that usually takes about 30 seconds. As far as the requirements for the examiner, they must allow the candidate 1 minute to prepare for their long turn, and then when the candidate starts speaking, they need to give the candidate 2 minutes of speaking time that's uninterrupted. They can't ask any questions or make any comments during that time. And then at the end of the 2 minute long turn, the examiner will ask 1, maybe 2 rounding off questions at the end of that long turn. Also, all the material that is written in the test booklet has to be read verbatim. As far as what the examiner needs to read in the part two of the speaking test, this is it. I'm not going to read through it. You can just pause the video and read through the questions if you wish. While the candidate is speaking, the examiner has to assess all of the 4 areas of language, your fluency, coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. But they probably will be focusing more in part two on your grammar and your lexical resource. Now, what you want to do as a candidate in part two for the speaking test is keep going. Again, do not stop speaking until the examiner says thank you, and that indicates that your 2 minutes is up. Don't go into the speech with this, or don't go into the long turn or part two with a 1 or 2 minute prepared speech. I've had candidates that forget what they had prepared and they have to go back and start over again. Or sometimes they prepare a speech, but it's not 2 minutes long, and then it's just very awkward at the end. If you don't finish with 2 minutes, potentially the examiner could give you a lower rating for your fluency and coherence. It says 1 to 2 minutes on the task card, but they want you to speak for 2 minutes. Take your 1 minute preparation time and address all the WH questions, the who, what, where, when, why, and how you can think of, even if it's not included on the task card. Because frankly, when I was an examiner, I didn't even really read the question that were on the task card. Speak naturally. If you seem too rehearsed when you're giving your speech, the examiner won't be very favorable to that. Focus on all aspects of your speech, but really try to concentrate on your grammar and your vocabulary. At the end, keep your response to the rounding off question brief. The examiner is just telling you that part of the test is over. He or she doesn't want a long response, just a yes or a no to that question. Now, I've heard a couple of questions from candidates, and they wonder, for example, they didn't answer all the questions on the task card, and they're wondering if they'll be penalized for that. No, you won't be penalized. The examiner's not looking for a correct answer or to see if you answered the questions. They're just concerned about the speech that you're producing, and also your top, when you're speaking, you're on topic. The other thing that candidates are concerned about is that the examiner didn't let me finish speaking. Okay, I had more to say. That's okay. The examiner can only let you speak for 2 minutes in the long term. Remember, they only have 4 minutes for this part, and they don't want a long response in the follow-up question. So they'll interrupt you there if you're going too long. If you're interrupted before you finish speaking, that's okay. You've done a good job. Just go ahead and move on to part 3 of the speaking test.